You took a bold stand, though, years ago when the governments were trying to poison their citizens. You took a very bold stand that nobody else took. That's what I was like, wow, I appreciate you, because I lost 3, 4 jobs because I refused to take it. I refused
I
to
bet
take
you feel better about it now.
well,
especially when you know all these people that have health problems because of it.
cancers have increased 300%.
All-cause mortality up 40% in some age groups.
Pulmonary embolisms almost up like 500%.
Yeah, I wonder what caused that.
Well,
Crazy.
the spike proteins that's being built and collected within the system. We can
Yeah.
go into. I can walk you through what the spike protein did to the BRCA1 gene. That's that gene inside of our DNA that tells us that there's damage that's happening, almost like the crews that go along the highway and they immediately put up cones every time there's a problem. Well, the spike protein, which is no protein has ever been able to enter into the nucleus of a cell. Not only does it go to the ribosomes and say, hey, you know what? I don't want you to produce whatever protein, like if it was a skin cell, you're not going to produce keratin anymore. You're just going to produce these spike proteins. That spike protein went into the DNA and it tells the BRCA1 gene, turn off. And that's the gene that says, hey, there's a mutation here. Let's scrap that thing. And so now the cancers are building up. The spike proteins weren't shedding from the body. They collected in the ovaries. They collected in the lymph nodes. They collected in the bone marrow. So now we have all of these diseases that's showing themselves because the body is overwhelmed trying to deal with the spike protein that's attaching itself to the ACE2 and the endothelial cells in our vascular system for everybody out there.
And the more boosters you get,
boom,
the
you're
worse
turning
your
your
outcomes are
system
gonna be.
off. You're turning it off. Your body cannot defend itself, and it's just collecting. It's just collecting.
But it also showed me the bizarre state of human psychology, that people, if you're presented with what could be a potential solution, you want to believe in it so bad that you're willing to defend these companies that have been the most deceptive companies, proven deceptive, not just deceptive, but deceptive in the way that they are allowed to distribute information. They're allowed to not be transparent about their studies. They could have multiple studies that show a negative cause or a negative effect, and they don't have to release those studies.
Why?
Because they're bought and sold.
But I think it's an agenda to it.
You think so?
I think it's an agenda attached to it because they restricted any natural thing like ivermectin. Iver means like it caused ivermectin. Mectin, for the Latin of it, it was worms, and it was anti-worms. And what the ivermectin does, it causes the worms to have paralysis, or parasites to have paralysis, because it stops their information from passing. And there's these things called the nodes of Ranvier between each neuron. There's an axon, and there's the axon, and oh my God, I just forgot the leg that comes off of dendrites. Those dendrites and the axons have these things called nodes of Ranvier, where they're not allowed to touch each other, and it transfers potassium and chlorine back and forth to each other. Potassium, chlorine, chloride, and hydrogen back and forth. Well, in the worm, the ivermectin stops that to where the worms become paralyzed. So it was an immediate defense against the pathogen, but they immediately shut that down and wouldn't allow anybody to use it.
They showed that it stops viral replication
Completely.
in vitro. Yeah, they know that they know that there's a mechanism involved, and they try to pretend. And then they also try to pretend it's dangerous, which is insane. And they even got Rolling Stone magazine on board with it, where they printed an article where they were showing these people that were waiting in line for gunshot victims because so many people were overdosing on horse dewormer.
Yeah, well, that was propaganda.
It was a full-on lie. Not only that, they were so stupid and clumsy about it that the image that they used, this is Oklahoma, the image that they used was like in the summer in Oklahoma, and yet everybody's dressed in winter coats. It was retarded. The whole thing was so stupid, but so obviously coordinated. It was confusing to me how many people were willing to go along with it and how many people were angry at people who didn't go along with it regardless of what they were saying. Even if what they were saying was reasonable, even if what they're saying, especially if you're talking about like Jay Bhattacharya and these people that were professors at esteemed universities, and they were being silenced, and there was a coordinated effort to remove their posts from Twitter. This is wild shit.
Yeah.
Unprecedented wild shit. And the population was just going along with it. For me, what was fascinating was psychologically. Like, do you guys not know about deception? Do you not know about profit motive? Do you not know about the history of pharmaceutical drug companies in this country and what they've been able to get away with how many people they've paid?